Hello and welcome to my Christian fiction podcast, where I share stories with you. Right now, you're listening to Buried Secrets, written and read by Eunice Wilkie. Chapter 16. October 2022. Mysteries from the Wild podcast. Draft notes for Buried Secrets series, episode 12. John calls me at my desk on a day when I'm working for the chief super in a building across the complex from his cubicle. Outside, the rain is bucketing down, which might be why he's phoning instead of showing up in person, as he's been known to do. I suspect he enjoys any excuse to escape his desk, even if it's just across the car park. The DNA results are back, he says, as casually as if he were announcing a fresh pot of coffee or a repaired light fixture. And, I prompt when he most frustratingly pauses. Donald Urquhart. Just 2 words, but they're not what I expected. And I know they're not what John expected either. We had pieced together a narrative that pointed to James Martin being the murder victim. Instead, it was his father who ended up in that unmarked grave, just miles from his family mausoleum where he was meant to be. Well, I exhale, barely aware I've spoken aloud, but John replies anyway. Quite. A pause lingers before I say, "You think this was the murder, or at least the burial that Terry Vass saw?" It's a weak comment. We've turned this over too many times already. We'll pursue that as one line of inquiry, John replies. So we're looking for 5 perpetrators. I say we, and John doesn't correct me, though it's not strictly true that I'm pursuing the investigation in an official capacity. Still, he treats me like an equal, and I appreciate it. We could make a good guess at 2 or more of them, John says. We've been through this before, too. If Donald Urquhart was murdered in 1977, when he returned to Strathavie, likely for personal reasons after his terminal diagnosis, who had more reason to want him dead than the Vass clan, especially after his treatment of Maggie Martin? I tick the suspects off on my fingers. Hector Vass Sr., Hector Vass Jr., both dead now, Duncan Vass, and maybe his father, Murdo Vass, the gang leader. Duncan and Murdo would be my starting point, John agrees. But unless one of them talks, evidence is going to be a challenge. That's an understatement. The grave itself offered nothing. No DNA, no clues. The bizarre assortment of objects didn't help either. My research into ritual burials turned up nothing remotely similar. A bird draped over the body, embraced by the hands. A ski-and-do. A sheep's jawbone. Sticks arranged in a pentagram. None of it made sense. Since we found no comparable cases in police records or in black magic folklore, John believes the items were planted to mislead anyone who discovered the remains. Perhaps to make the remains appear ancient, a human sacrifice buried centuries ago. And he's probably right. Everything in that grave could have been sourced locally, within very easy reach. It could all be the work of someone deliberately muddying the waters. The next day, John and another officer visit Murdo Vass. I'm not present, but he fills me in afterwards. The result is predictable: flat denials of any involvement in Donald Urquhart's murder or burial. Murdo Vass was 39 in 1977. His first cousin, Hector, was 41. Donald Urquhart would have been 46. His son, James Martin, just 24. Duncan Vass was only 17. Hector Jr., 18. It's chilling to think these young men could have been involved, maybe with their younger brothers, Terry and Simon, looking on. If Terry's childhood note was correct, there was a fifth person involved, still unidentified. Murdo, now aged 84, remains an imposing figure. John describes him sparingly, but I gather he's still a large, formidable man, an older version of his son, Duncan, whom I encountered at the Urquhart Estate office. I gather that Murdo is blustering, emphatic, and deeply unpleasant. He is not a man to turn your back on. He lives at Aird Farm, on the outskirts of Kimbaki. The old farmhouse has been transformed into a modern, luxurious fortress set within manicured grounds. John grimaces as he describes it. I get the feeling he finds extreme modernity distasteful. There are security gates, cameras everywhere, and numerous locked buildings, each equipped with high-end security systems. The police have had their eye on the place for years, but recently there hasn't been enough cause to search it. Whatever Murdo did for a living, he clearly made a lot of money. One thing is certain: he doesn't bother hiding his hatred of Donald Urquhart. Decades may have passed, but the wounds left by Donald's rampage through Strathavie in the 1950s haven't faded. The motive for murder is there, plain as day, especially considering Maggie Martin had been Hector Vass's childhood sweetheart. I can imagine how personally the Vasses took it when she became pregnant by Donald Urquhart. But motive isn't evidence. Maybe when we visit Archie Martin, things will open up, but I'm not hopeful. Before we get the chance, before Archie is even well enough to see us, there's yet another discovery at the Stone Circle.